as you know, that this is an instrument which, contrary to the rest of the instruments which have evolved over centuries, has been made in less than 50 years, 45 years. So the reason I need to share with everyone is that it was not left to nature to evolve. And by leaving to nature is that you leave the evolution, it is dependent upon the evolution of the human being. So as the mind is very much a part of nature, it's the cutting edge of technology. So here, the reason for making the instrument was before the instrument came into being. And that was to increase emotional communication between people, as music is a means of emotional communication. So that was the reason behind making this instrument. And as I think it was already told, that the problem was that my father, Raza Kazim, felt that his children were being trapped into Western pop at that time. We were all teenagers. I think my sister is sitting here. She was younger than me. So he did not like it. As much as he encouraged us to listen to Western pop, he realized that there was a problem at hand. And being a lawyer, he needed his best faculties to solve this problem. That why his children are not connected to their own music. That was the reason for making the Sagar Veena. So my father identified this inclination, and he realized that maybe non-rhythmic music is better for musical and emotive communication. So he made me switch from a sitar, which was a regular instrument, which all of us started learning, and then he made me go onto the sur bahar, which is like a bass sitar. And you don't use it very often for a fast tempo, even in classical music. So I played that, and he realized that I was expressing myself much more on that. And then he realized that probably the frets which break up the musical sound maybe can be avoided. And then he thought of another instrument, which is its predecessor, we can call it, because it is played in the same way as the Sagar Veena is played. And it's called Vichitra Veen. So he wanted me to try that out. And when that, although with my very limited skills, I tried playing it. It was a non-fretted instrument. I did not know how to play it. Yet he realized that I was more inclined, my natural connection with music was more for the non-fretted, more like the voice. So he ordered a Vichitra Veen, which, it's handcrafted. It takes about 6 months to be made. And at that time, there were few craftsmen in Lahore who would make. So he ordered that, and in the meanwhile, the instrument that I used to play, which was a sur bahar, and it's a bass sitar, so that I could practice with the sliding piece. At that time, it was a glass piece. It was not a brass piece which he has created, which he has designed. So with that, he made me practice on the non-fretted sur bahar, which I was used to playing, by just removing the frets and putting it on a foot ruler, and made me play with an ashtray, a piece which was again a piece of glass, and of course plucking with the same mizrabs. So that sounded much better, and that is where he thought that the most crucial part of this instrument, which is the bridge, which transmits the sound into the instrument, was placed differently to the Vichitra Veen. And hence his mind started, ticking, inquiring, and finding out how to improve on that sound that he had heard, which was surprisingly better than the Vichitar Veen. So that's when the story of the Sagar Veena begins. And this was, I think, March 1970, when I was about nearly 16, 15 and a half. And from then onwards, while he had ordered the Vichitar Veen, he started working on finding out why it is sounding better, why the bridge which transmits is placed, the way it is placed on the sounding board, which is called the tabli, why is it sounding better? And hence his intellect, his spirit, his passion to create, to find out, to inquire, just, came together. And then this work started. So what he did was that he also had conceived of a certain instrument, which is there, and it is the Sagar Veena's first prototype. And he also ordered to another instrument maker, not the same one, who was also sort of close by. They were actually in Gwal Mandi at that time, in the inner city, close to the inner city. So they were sitting, those two musical instruments shops were close by. So he ordered a certain design, which is the first prototype of the Sagar Veena, on another musical shop where there were other craftsmen. So there begins the journey of Sagar Veena. So now at this stage, I think what I would really like to point out is that apart from, we can briefly go into the fact that it is a radical departure, the design is a radical departure from the existing instruments which are stringed and which are played, which are plucked all over the world. It's actually a step in the evolution of musical instruments, because here he has separated the functions of the instrument into two parts. One is the vibrating part, which are the strings. So this is on a frame which goes here, and there are screws which you can unscrew, and the actual instrument, which is the resonating part, this one here, this is one instrument. And the strings are so taut and put so much tension that he separated it. So this is a process that went on for 30, 40 years until he standardized. There were so many things that went into standardizing. So this separate part actually comes out if you unscrew. So he built two separate parts which were absolutely opposite of each other. One was the resonating part, which had to be wafer thin. And he went through stages of making this, finalizing this design. And then there was the tough part, which was the vibrating, because it has 10 strings and a lot of tension, so it had to be reinforced. So this wooden part is not just wood. It has got steel inside and a titanium rod inside to keep it strong so that it doesn't bend, because then this sound changes. So apart from the fact that this is a radical departure, and it is, as a step forward in the making of musical instruments, stringed musical instruments, there was a whole methodology that came into place in 4.5 decades of how to inquire, how to experiment, how to use the results, the failures and the successes of experimentation through further inputs of history, of technology, of engineering, of science, and make it better. So, of course, he was a visionary, and he had a certain purpose for that sound that he had envisioned. So he kept working on it. So this methodology was something that was my learning for 4 decades, where I did not go to a university or a college, and I just observed it because I had a very passive role to play, which was of testing out the sound as he kept on making changes. So I just want to say that methodology, I feel, that it must be tried out in different areas of where we are moving from point A to point B in our own, becoming conscious of ourselves or developing or evolving. And by the way, his real area of inquiry were the mental processes. And actually, this is an application of that. So he has ended up creating a whole body of knowledge which is interconnected, interrelated, and it's all about life, all about human beings. He has tried to connect the feelings and the intellect through this methodology that I've witnessed myself for 4 decades. So this is what I really want to share with young people especially, that we need to experiment, we need to find out, we need to use the best tools that are available today for learning and use them through the autonomy of the human mind, which he literally put in front of everything else, rather than succumbing to trends, to unthinking beliefs. And he actually, because I used to spend hours just watching him do one part of the instrument, which is, again, this is called the jwari. So this is the most difficult part. He, I think, is the first person to find out exactly what the function of this jwari is. So that he did himself. He applied whatever he learned through science, whatever he learned through hearing the sounds of the instrument, and he changed material after material. He tried silver for this bridge. He tried different little parts for the strings, little pieces for the strings. He tried bone. And the last thing that, by the way, he has come up with, and which is standardized, is something of his which was a result of his own thinking process. And that these are just 3 different adhesive and emulsions which are put together in a certain proportion and put in a mold, and once they cool down, then the jwari, the bridge, is made. And not only just he has standardized the materials which has produced the sound that you've heard, he has also discovered exactly what the function of the instrument, of the jwari, is in transmitting and how it should be done. Unfortunately, that was something that he was working on till he fell ill, and he stopped working on the jwari. He was around 86 at that time. And hence that part, the most crucial part of the instrument, is left incomplete, unfortunately. I hope in times to come, with new instruments and technology and mental tools, I hope that this will also be standardized and maybe improved. Maybe the sound improves through that. So it's just what I feel, that now the time has come to experiment with the methodology that he has put in place in order to inquire, in order to create new things that are about today's life, not about the past, not about putting philosophy in a cold storage, but using it as a manual for the human mind, for the human mind to change, to evolve, as he did while he was working on this instrument. So he also had an idea about the music that it will produce, and he called it Sanjan Sangeet, which, I think I'm still, nowhere near Sanjan Sangeet, or, I'm not even on that path. But yes, I have a vision of Sanjan Sangeet, as I have closely observed him, that it is based on rationality, it is based on where a human being is capable of going emotionally, that resolved emotions, what they can produce. They can produce magic. They can produce things that we have only heard of, or dreamt of. And because that's what the human mind is capable of, and that's what he worked all his life, to figure out how the mind works. And this is a product of that. So I'm just sort of ending with a hope that more people will join us in getting onto this journey. Now that he's not there, we will have more and more people to help each other to be passionate about their own work and get on with whatever they're doing, even if it's the most menial of work. I think this is the message of the Sagar Veena. There's a lot to share about the Sagar Veena, but I think some other time, as we are short of time, and just to mention that each and every part of the Sagar Veena is innovated by Raza. There is no part which you can see or understand in the previous instruments, the stringed instruments. So that is a study in itself. That is something that people who would be interested would love to, inquire and find out more and maybe make it into some objective, body of knowledge which can be used for posterity. But it all depends upon how many different kinds of skills come together and create that. So thank you very much for just having an introduction to the Sagar Veena. Thank you.